Welcome to Mind Shifters Radio. Today is Tuesday, April 7th, 2026. Welcome to the show. Welcome, Michael. Hello, Michael.
Thank you, dear heart, and welcome, everybody. Honored and delighted.
Susan,
What was that?
You're a mess. She was pretending to be you since you didn't answer.
Okay.
I couldn't
for it,
resist. I couldn't resist.
Go for it, Susan.
No, I'm
said,
muting
She
myself.
just used a deep voice and said, "Thank you, dear heart. Welcome everybody to the show."
Honored and delighted.
Yes.
Honored and delighted. Yes, definitely. Well, where is everybody else today?
Oh, no. Welcome, Donald.
Hey, Donald, welcome. How are things in your world?
They're good. I'm voting to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene today.
Good work, Donald.
Only until January. Her term runs out. I think it's January or November. Yeah. Then the whole thing has to start again.
Crazy world. Definitely lots of opportunities to learn forgiveness.
Yeah.
Well, we need our other callers. Where are you all? Come on, you guys, pick up the phone. Get dialed in. The picture that I shared, if I talk about it now, it's going to be kind of anticlimactic. We need some other folks to join us. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to delete that picture for now. Oh.
Michael, can you see? I've somehow caused the picture you sent me from Joan Tufts. It's up on my screen as if I'm sharing it.
I shared it.
Oh, you shared it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was gonna.
I thought I did that. Okay, good.
No, it was me.
Okay.
And it's let's see. What do I have to do to take it off? Doesn't want to go.
It doesn't give you an unshare option?
Well, there is one somewhere. But, here, I think that's it, where it is. No. No, I've done this before, and it's allowed me to delete it. But I don't know why it's not now. Crazy. Technology is so much fun. Technology.
It says you've paused the screen share, so.
So is the picture gone?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's still up on mine.
Oh, is it?
Up on mine too.
Huh.
Well, I just pushed to the left and now I'm looking at all your things and the screen share is still on, but I'm not looking at it because I slid it over to the other side. I don't know if that makes any sense. So that we don't have.
It's back up there now on my screen.
No. Usually there's a button I can push that removes it, but that's not working. That's not happening. Well, anyway, anybody got anything exciting to share? Anything wondrous and wonderful going on in your world? And anybody know how I can delete this screen share? and settings.
Michael, what I'm looking at is right below the top where it says Mind Shifters Radio Show. If you're
Yeah.
right under that, it says screen share. Right under, beside, to the right of the word that says record and a little check mark in a kind of a shield looking thing. You don't see that?
No, not there.
All right.
Well, I have another idea. Give me just 1 second.
You did it.
I think you did it. Yeah.
I had to sign out and come back in. So anyway, so welcome. Somebody's got to have something on your mind. What's exciting?
Okay, I'll talk. I have
Go
something
for
on
it.
my mind. This
Please.
is it's synchronicity at work. Dr. Tim just gave his show and he read Krishnamurti on the nature of real love, which involves not wanting something from someone or being attached, but just in an allowing, open, neutral, not that you don't care, but a neutral space. This is something I've been thinking a lot about, being a love addict, a relationship addict. And what I had just found, this is synchronicity, is something similar in Anthony DeMello's book, Awareness. And if it's okay, I'll read a little bit of that because it says what Krishnamurti was saying, but in for me, a more accessible, understandable way, and maybe even a gentler way. Would that be okay?
Please go for it. Yeah, DeMello's got some great stuff.
He does, and it's very much in line with the tools and everything. He starts out, the little title is called Addictive Love. Well, of course, I raced right to that section because I'm always paying attention to that because I've been doing that with people all my life. So the heart in love remains soft and sensitive. But when you are hell-bent on getting this or the other thing, you become ruthless, hard, and insensitive. How can you
And free of love.
What?
And free of love.
Oh, definitely. He's talking about unlove. How can you love people when you need people? Well, that's where Krishnamurti dovetails. He had this discussion with a young woman who was saying, well, I'm going to get married and I won't be able to do my career and I'll have children and I won't be able to work because I'll be preoccupied with family. And Krishnamurti was saying, well, is this something you want? He said it in many ways, and it was a long discussion about exclusivity shuts other people out, and it's basically the nugget that forms all of our wars. I mean, if you are exclusively here or there, you're saying this is good and this is bad, or this is out and I'm in, or I'm comfortable and I can't be comfortable out there. He's saying you're in a mindset that if blown up to its full dimensions, it'll become us and them and wars will take place. Of course, that explains some things we're doing right now and always have been. But he says, I'll go back to DeMello. He says, how can you love people when you need people? You can only use them. If I need you to make me happy, I've got to use you. I've got to manipulate you. I've got to find ways and means of winning you. I cannot let you be free. I can only love people when I have emptied my life of people. When I die to the need for people, then I'm right in the desert. In the beginning feels awful when I'm there. It feels lonely, but if you can take it for a while, you will suddenly discover that it isn't lonely at all. It is solitude, it is aloneness, and the desert begins to flower. I'll stop there, but I've been this Lent and Easter has been the most delicious time because I think I got there, knock on wood, because the addict finds ways of becoming re-addicted or another person that they can hitch to. But to become free, it's one of the most delicious feelings in the world. And I just want to stay in it. And maybe at my age, I can finally do that. But anyway, it just seemed amazing to me that DeMello that I'm reading and Krishnamurti, I'm hearing from on the Tim Hayes show, they're talking about the same thing. And how is that weird? Even though I don't understand in my gut how we are all connected, this is evidence that we are. But of course, other people may have other issues and they're waiting to address those. So this has just been my experience. Okay, over and out.
Well, I'm going to lay a foundation for where I'd like to go with this. And that
Okay.
is, you remember we've talked a few times about Yeshua and his conversation about John the Baptist. And he says, and very pointedly, that John the Baptist is the highest of those born of woman. And my take is what he's saying there is, if you're living out of carbon-based memory, John the Baptist is a genius. He has such great conversations. He's so bright. He's so in tune. He's so intelligent. Man, you can't beat that guy. And then he says, but he's the very lowest in the kingdom. And my take is he's talking about the two different operating systems of the human. One of them is carbon-based memory. Everything stored from the past, living out of the past, living out of the definitions of the past, out of the words of the past. And John is the best at it. Everybody wants to be there. But then a new, extremely reversed conversation occurs when you step into what Yeshua referred to as the kingdom. Now you're not talking from carbon-based memory. You're not talking from separation. You're not living from separation. In that space, you're living from a whole different place and a whole different understanding. My take is that both Krishnamurti, from what you've explained of his conversation, and what you've read of DeMello, is both of them are in carbon-based memory, talking about the world's definition of the words. And they're both in deep error when it comes to and compares to the actuality. Now, when you're talking about how delicious it is, having done your work, you're stepping into being, and you're not doing this. You have to fix this. You have to do it. You have to be this for me. You are love. You are functioning. You are experiencing yourself. That's what he's talking about as being in the kingdom. So what I hear you describing is through this Lenten season and the work that you've done and the depth you've gone, that you're getting the deliciousness of getting to taste your human life, and it's got nothing to do with anybody else. The world took that experience and made a cheap copy. They called it love and said, I'm going to do it to you. And then you see, then we get to control all that other conversation takes place. So my take is that both are living, speaking from the state of carbon-based memory of John the Baptist, high-level conversations, but pure bunk in the world of actuality, in the creator's world, in the world where we're designed to live. It's just a silly conversation to have when you're living and being. Notice when you speak about, you called it a love addiction. I'd offer it's got nothing to do with love, but that's the word that the culture uses. Notice when you're in that conversation, there are all kinds of parameters to experiencing this deliciousness. Notice when you step out of that conversation, there are no parameters, nobody to talk about. You can be with anybody, you can be with nobody, you can be with everybody. You can be in a deeply, deeply exclusive, committed relationship that people call a love relationship. And ideally, both people in that relationship are functioning from being. So yes, it is deliciousness shared. But you notice in the other conversation, there's a whole other set of parameters that carbon-based memory lays on it. And that just entering that conversation cuts out the delicious experience of yourself as you are created to experience yourself as the presence of love. You know, we ask that question all the time about, have you ever held a newborn? Go back to the experience of holding one of your newborns. There's the deliciousness, right? And that child is definitely not loving you. That child is definitely the presence of a human life, and it hasn't learned yet to lose itself, to become brainwashed by the culture and lose itself in carbon-based memory. And then to have to do the work of shedding all of that and coming back to deliciousness just because the Creator put the breath of life in you. Notice when you're in that state, touching that, nobody needs to do anything. No demands, no goals, no nothing. Just get to experience this. And you're designed to experience, my take, we are all designed to experience our lives from that deliciousness, bringing that deliciousness to the experience of the world. That's what we're designed for. And that's where forgiveness comes in. When you take all those fake conversations and all the cheap copies that the ego mind has, and you delete them, the only thing left is, oh, delicious, wondrous, amazing. And we're designed to experience delicious, wonderful, amazing, 24/7, 365. Unless the ego's got other ideas. And then all kinds of parameters before you can have it. And we give it away for, you know, especially in the early stages of doing this work, we give it away for nothing. You know, all it takes is somebody to turn their head the right way, and we give up that delicious experience that we're designed to live. And the other word for that delicious experience is love. The word that DeMello and Krishnamurti are using, it needs to be a whole different word that they're talking about, because it's got nothing to do with love. That would be my take. And I know there's no challenge in that at all for you, Susan, right?
No, actually, I agree with you. He uses those words because those are the words our culture uses. But
Exactly.
I think he takes us, at least DeMello does, and the Krishnamurti piece we hadn't finished by the end of the hour. But I think he's taking you to a place of curiosity, observing, allowing.
And that's what John the Baptist does. John the Baptist, remember, is the forerunner of the Christ. We all have to meet our John the Baptist. We all have to meet somebody. When he says, you know, they also call him the raving maniac in the desert. They call him that because each of us, if we're ever going to open to that deliciousness, once we've lost it to the world, if we're ever going to open that deliciousness, we have to meet our John the Baptist, somebody that knows how to lead us to our carbon-based memory, question it, and throw it away. Then that's the forerunner of the Christ. It's the throwing away of that bang, instantly, you know, like the Course says, you need not seek for love. You need only seek, find, and release the barriers you built within yourself against it, because it's what you are.
You know,
And
this
so
is
each of us needs a John the Baptist. Few people are going to find that gate on their own. Each of us needs a John the Baptist, someone who can reflect back to us, oh, let me show you your raving maniac in your unconscious, in your desert, and let me support you in healing it. And that's John's job. And that opens a space where once we've visited that place and have the tools and do the work where, oh, deliciousness is my nature. Love is my nature. It's not something I'm going to do to you, or you're going to do to me, or I'm going to get from you, or you're going to get from me. You know, it's perhaps as important a word to redefine as
Mhm.
forgiveness is.
Yeah, I can understand that. And you know what? You know this. You are John the Baptist for many of us.
No, never. Nobody's ever had to do a worksheet on me. No,
No,
that's
no.
just, I mean, never. That's it's just ask Jeannie. Ask Jeannie. I mean, you know, she knows. She's never had to do a worksheet on me, right, Jeannie?
I don't understand because what you've done, yeah, we can get in trouble with you, but on the other hand, you keep showing us the tools. You keep
I know.
I'm ribbing you, but on the other hand, it just struck me that that's what you've been doing. And people like me needed those tools. We didn't know how to find our way there
Exactly.
otherwise.
Well, and as Yeshua says, you know, the gate's narrow. Few will be that ever find it. Like for me, and you've heard me say this several times, the last 2 years is I've done more and deeper work than in the previous almost 60 years of developing this.
Right.
Like if I go back 20 years ago and you know, I was traveling the globe and having audiences of 1,000, 2,000 people and people are like, wow. And I look at that now and I was like, what I was doing was so amateurish and so backward because I didn't even know what forgiveness meant. I knew how to do it,
Yeah.
but I
You
didn't
were
know what it meant or how it
mm,
worked. That's what I've
but
been able to come to understand.
but you were demonstrating it before you could totally do it. I mean, I don't
Yes,
think you did damage in there. You helped a lot of people.
yes, yes. And compared to the work in terms of my own personal process,
Hmm.
it was so amateurish. And I say that from the point of view of I recognize and you know, I mean, I've got a pretty unusual background having the physics, having the theology, having the psychology, having the business, you know, having those brain cells, I think it would give me a way to see that otherwise I wouldn't see. And there aren't many people that are going to spend 55, I don't know what it is now, exactly 57 years plus full time. When I say full time, I mean, I'm talking about decades of literally 14, 16 hours a day, oftentimes 9 days
Hmm.
a week. Aren't many people going to do that to come to go to the understanding of, oh, this is what it is. And
Well,
for
and do
my
you
own,
have to be a raving maniac to want terribly badly to use the tools enough to get there? Because that's what my addiction did for me. It was suffering. I know we talked about suffering and pain. I was in so much pain that it was better to just go all the way to the end of that and say, I give up. And even now, in a moment of remission, as an
stress,
addict, I can never say I'm cured. I can't say that. I won't know if it rears its head again, and I'll have to go right back into the desert and fight the demons.
next piece of work. Exactly. But then you have one big step up on most people who are fighting, especially the addiction demon, their addictions, you know, hostility, fear, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that is that you've tasted what John the Baptist was a junior in, and you've progressed in that arena. And that's incomparable experience. Because when you look at when you become cognizant of the fact that, okay, my addiction, my underlying pain of my addiction is up, and I'm tempted to go and grab that. And it's like, wait a minute, I'm going to give up this for that.
Mm-hmm.
I
Right.
can remember the first opening experience that I had. I was in Delray Beach. I was teaching on a Wednesday night in Delray, or pardon me, a Thursday night. I did Fort Lauderdale on Wednesdays. I was teaching at Unity of Delray, and I was teaching about healing. And in the class, I'm illustrating on the board. I'm getting down to genetics, and I'm shown the difference between, we've got a cell that's diseased and damaged. How do you fix it? Well, you can medicine it, but you can't fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And that cell is a product of a vibratory pattern called a gene that creates that distorted cell. And what I was shown that day was the difference between the fixing of the distorted cell and the healing of the genetic pattern that created the distorted cell.
Mm-hmm.
The real work was to go in and heal the genetic pattern.
Yeah.
And at that point, I had a bolt of light go up my spine and
Whoa.
explode in my brain.
Wow.
I could not finish the class. I ended up in tears. I said, I apologize. I can't talk anymore. I'm leaving.
Wow.
And I went home and I sat down to write, and I'm writing about this. And it's just like, I thought I'd written pages. When I finally came back from that space, I'd written 2 or 3 lines, but I thought I'd written pages.
Wow.
And in that state, I could ask a question, any question I could imagine. I asked. And one of the questions and when I asked, I was given a full visual answer. I could see the answer right there in, like in form.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, it was explained to me by what I would call a voice, but it wasn't an auditory voice. It was just an explanation that I was given.
Uh-huh.
And at one point I asked, well, what about the ego? And what I was shown was this little playful puppy with something in its mouth. I don't even remember what now. This is 3.5 decades ago. But this little playful puppy's got something in its mouth, jumping around, like trying to get my attention, jumping up and down, jumping up and down. And I can remember, to this day, I can go back to that feeling of, it was that just delicious. And I can remember being shown this little puppy with something in its mouth, and it wants me to come and get it. And I can remember saying to myself, you think I'm going to give up this state for that?
Uh-huh.
You got to be kidding.
That's great.
And think about when you're in that state of delicious and something comes up that's your past addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Notice that it's a whole lot easier to go, I'm going to give up this for that. And then you've got the tool to do the work to dismantle whatever the addiction's about. To me, that's what we need to hand to every mind, heart, and being on the planet.
Yeah.
That's what we need to hand to everybody.
But Michael, you say that there are 2 levels, and the ultimate level is that the genetic is cleared out.
Right. Once the gene that produced the diseased cell is healed, then the next generation of cells come out healed. It's done.
Well,
There's no
then
more
why?
distortion in the cell.
Okay. So my question is for personal. I'm not better than my cell hasn't been cleared out. I can only recognize it. I see it like a cloud on the horizon, and I say, "Oh, here it comes," and I head it off with tools, with reminding myself what freedom is, what real love is, and I can sort of right my ship. Knock on wood, I haven't had any tornadoes. It's just gotten to be a gentler storm, but the storm still threatens. And maybe that's just a thought disorder now. Maybe it isn't in my cells anymore. I can't tell. How do you know?
Well, my take is, one, that you can maintain enough awareness of that space of, wow, I'm not giving this up.
Yeah.
And recognize, yeah, something's coming up for me. I've got a piece of work to do here. But it does it like, that little puppy, if it could have, would have come up, grabbed me by the face and sucked me right into its scenario.
Mm-hmm.
But I recognize that And in that state, I had enough awareness of that deliciousness that I wouldn't give it up for anything.
Oh, I understand that, but you said,
And there's still work to be done.
yeah, so that means it isn't cleared out of the genetic something or other, or is it? And it's just old
Well,
habits.
my take would be that piece is cleared out,
Mhm.
and maybe that piece comes from, like Jeannie's book talks about this experience she had in the still point session that, where she experienced herself as a Native American girl and
Mhm.
I went through that. And okay, so she's cleared that experience out, but what went on 10 generations before that, and 10 generations before that, and 2 generations before that, and 3 generations after
Oh, I
that
see.
reinforce those things.
Mhm.
So, as we were talking about yesterday, my take is if I face an issue and work through, I'm finished with that particular, can I say, that particular pustule of energy. I'm finished with it.
That's a great word.
But it doesn't mean that I'm finished with the issue.
Okay, because
There,
it isn't
there may
only
well be
your
other
issue.
pustules. There may well be other pustules that will grow out of that. The parts that I haven't yet had the vitality to head to face on and have come up in my face full blast and breathe through.
Yeah.
And one of the prerequisites to that is that you got to stop talking about other people when you're in pain. A physiology is saying, ouch, even a minor, or emotions, the Course in Miracles, the smallest irritation covers the deepest rage.
Mhm.
If the smallest irritation is up, if the slightest pain is going on, if you're actually true to yourself and you're honest, you got to stop the conversation about everything and everybody outside of you, and you got to go in and do your work.
Oh,
Otherwise,
yeah.
Otherwise, you'll destroy somebody.
Mhm.
You'll ultimately become physical attack, the whole war game, or
Mhm.
you'll emotionally destroy them, or the blame game. The
Mhm.
conversation will be, look what you've done to me. Well, I'm in pain, but I'm only in pain because of what you did, not because of what is going on inside of me. And that threshold that's a tough threshold to cross. To give that blames conversation up, to stop. I mean, literally, the instant one finds oneself in pain. Now, maybe there's some justification. Gee, something did happen that's out of place here. There's something out of integrity that needs to be addressed. But what's out of integrity that needs to be addressed is none of my damn business if I'm in pain.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
Until I can bring that state of joy, that state of connectedness, that state of love to this situation, that I have no business thinking about in any way, shape, or form, or saying even one word about somebody else.
Yeah.
If I'm actually going to heal, I have to bring the conversation back to me, because that's my little playful puppy sucking me into some old pattern that, it might be 20 generations old. Who knows?
Well, that's good to know that the generational thing, you might have cleaned it out of your immediate cellular something or other.
Physiology, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the blaming of the other person is, knock on wood, I think that's long gone. As soon as I feel that need, as if I'm going to die of suffocation if this person doesn't care about me, I know
Mm-hmm.
that's my garbage, and I
Yep.
get to work. And all I can do is thank them in my mind, because if they are not doing exactly what I want, they're doing exactly what I need, which is not to come too close with the thing in the puppy's mouth.
Yes.
Oh, God. But it's been
And
just, whoa.
the next, once somebody gives up the blame game, then the next conversation one needs to give up is, I need to figure this out. It's like, no, there is nothing you need to figure out. You need to throw it out,
Yeah,
not figure it out.
that's
And most
good.
people are in their heads, that's the next
Yeah,
stage is, well, I'll figure out what they did, what I did, what's wrong. No, stop all those conversations. Take a breath,
yeah,
go inside. What's the goal that's driving your physiology on some level, whether it's old generational patterns, it's active in your genes, or it's active in your cells? What's the goal that's resonating, and bringing that into awareness? And when it moves, something in me tightens and I hold my breath. What goal do I need to cancel to allow
Mhm.
this next breath to come in and throw this out?
Mm.
And I get a visual. When I said that, this is interesting. I was in grade 4. Let's see if I can remember his name. I had a teacher that was a teacher that was a Latin, big, like discus thrower type Latin guy. And he was our Latin teacher.
Well,
What was his name? I'm not remembering his name. In any event, one of one of his favorite sayings when somebody got under his skin, which was often, he would say, "I throw you out. I throw you out." So that's what I just heard in my head when I said you have to throw that out.
yeah, that's what. That's
Anyway,
great. Amazing.
funny,
Yeah.
funny what comes. So breathing with you.
Well, thanks. One thing that I've realized is the ideas I have, for instance, about married life. And this is another thing that Krishnamurti was getting ready to address. But I have discovered that long-term love is a loving, a connected relationship with one's mate has a lot of stuff that our culture has suppressed as far as acknowledging goes.
It's
For
garbage. Yeah.
instance, that love can get boring. The fireworks settle down and you grow unevenly with your partner. Sometimes you learn stuff and your partner has to catch up and vice versa. And your wounds trigger each other and you have to deal with that. And being, attraction is a practice. I'm reading notes that I took on this little talk I heard that was just perfect for this. Love and liking are different. Sometimes we don't even like the person we're married to.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait, let me just throw in a little correction here.
Okay.
My offering is there has never been anybody in your world that you have not liked. Never. There's never been such a person.
Okay.
However, there are thought disorders which
Yeah.
bring up dislike in you and
Yeah.
me.
Yep.
And when those thought disorders come up, I go, "Oh, I don't like you." It's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, we're back to the lie again. We need to stop the
Okay.
blame game. We need to stop the external conversation. That's the
Right.
little playful puppy bringing. Oh, dislike. See, you can separate because if you stay around this person who's vitalizing you, you're going to get to look at the next level of your pain, and you don't want
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
So let's play the dislike game with them. The truth is, if there's dislike in me, a thought disorder that creates dislike, when I'm actually an adult, I'm going to own it. I'm going to free myself, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to get one step closer to this person that I cherish so deeply. And what little you shared about the conversation that Krishnamurti was having. I
Mm-hmm.
would love to be his therapist because that guy's got a ton of work to do. He's got this belief about marriage
Michael.
that marriage is this and marriage is that, and it's going to do this and it's going to do that to me and it's going to do that. And that's all his crap. That's all
No,
his
he's not.
projection.
He's not. I have to defend Krishnamurti.
Okay, go for it.
I represented him badly. He was putting
Ah,
questions. He's saying to this
okay.
woman, "Do you think marriage is this, or do you think it's that?" He remains open and questioning. I hope I've saved his reputation in your
Oh, good.
mind.
Okay. Well, what I understood you to say, and that may just been my understanding, that he was talking about he didn't want to marry because it was going to interfere with, he wasn't going to be able to work. It
No,
was
the
going
young
to be,
woman who was talking
that
to
was her
him,
crap. Yeah.
that was her stuff. And he kept
Yeah.
questioning her, taking her back to neutral and inviting her to look at stuff. Oh my God, Krishnamurti is going to come and kill me if I don't get that across to you.
Ooh,
Okay.
cancel that thought.
Anyway,
I think
anyway,
he's probably big. He's probably bigger than that.
anyway, you and he would have had a very interesting conversation, the way you would have with Carl Jung. We should have a fantasy meeting between you and Krishnamurti and Carl Jung, and you can
Oh
all
yeah,
yap
let's bring
together.
Yeshua in. Let's all get together
Oh,
with him.
yeah. Anyway, anyway, I don't have to, I think I'll mute myself and let somebody else talk.
No, I think that's been very productive. That was some good places to visit and clarify.
Well, good.
All right.
So, um, And I wanted to ask Jeannie, there's a woman in her 90s who's writing her memoirs, and she's not on today. And her name is, I can't remember her name.
Regina.
Regina. Next time, if you're in contact with, I would love to talk to her one-on-one.
We'll put you together.
Great,
We'll take care of that.
great.
Cool. And Joan isn't here today, and this is I was doing this for Joan, that picture that I put up.
Yeah.
However, she'll perhaps be able to get to listen to the archive, because I'm going to go ahead and bring that forward while it's here.
Okay.
And so I'm gonna share this picture with you all. Give me 1 second here. Zoom, shared ongoing meeting. Okay. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So this is the picture, or one of the pictures, that Joan had sent me. You know, she's done intensives and done energy field work. So she was writing to me and say, is this on track? Is this, and that's what I was talking about yesterday. And what you see there is a man who's literally adjusting his antenna in order to, in this case, as a healing professional, I don't know who he is. This is a picture she sent. I haven't looked at his work, but you know, he's clearly working to realign his antenna to create an exit point energetically for the stressful traumas of his childhood and bring the antenna back into alignment. So that was one piece. And then the other one is that, let's see. Aha, I discovered how to let go of that. And then what I was going to do is show you a second picture of the same scenario. And this is from someone we all know and cherish. And take a look at that picture, and that's an intuitive representation, my offering. Now, it comes with the passage about, you know, healing the blind man. But he's doing energy field work right there. That's Yeshua with his hands on the blind man. And look at that picture that I just shared with you. That's Susan's drawing. From how long ago, Susan?
Oh,
When did you draw that?
maybe 15 years ago.
Yeah. There's energy field work. There's realigning the antenna. So nice tapping in there. That's exactly what it is my offering.
I've always loved that story. I love the earthiness of it, the contact, the connection. A lot of us who had early childhood trauma maybe didn't have that kind of physical contact with a parent. And so that's sort of my fantasy of what that would have been like.
Right. Absolutely. So my offering is, you know, this is your picture and the picture that Joan had sent me with the question are examples of what in the ancient world was called laying on of hands. And the energy field work that we'll do, and I am a step closer in planning that intensive I talked about yesterday that Carrie had asked for on doing still point energy field certification. And basically the physiological aspect of this device we call a body-mind unit requires that the antenna be in its full and proper range of motion. And that's what the laying on of hands is about. And, you know, today it's sort of presented as, well, you know, you just go over there and you just have faith and you believe in blue, like they were dummies and they didn't know anything about energy or moving energy or actually having a system of doing it. My offering is that's just totally fake. 2,000 years ago, this man was a physician. That's why he's called the great physician. This isn't a miracle worker. This is a physician. And he knows exactly what he's doing, and he teaches it. And the Greeks destroyed it and took it over. So we're going to work on reestablishing it. That's what we're here for. Make sense? Anyone have any thoughts? We've got a couple minutes left. Come on, somebody's got to have a last minute thought to throw in there that we haven't heard from.
Well, I have a thought, but it's a pretty hard thought.
Go for it.
You know, I have a lot of trouble reminding myself that being right is not productive.
Yes.
We're having a lot of I'm right and you're wrong in our country. And when you say the Greeks got it wrong, I'm just fearing that part of it. Is there another way to present your take and your tools and the forgiveness process without making the Greeks the bad guys?
Well, I sent you the chapter on carbon-based memory on artificial intelligence. It's in the same vein. It's not about blaming anybody. It's about acknowledging where we went awry and bringing correction. Where we went awry and bringing correction. That's all.
Okay.
So
yeah, that's
it
going to
just
be.
happened to be introduced. You know, the greatest of many offenses, quote unquote offenses. The greatest one, I believe, is where in Aramaic, Yeshua talked about a feminine elemental force in us that will undo the effects of ours and will reveal the truth. And her name was Ruka. It just happened to be, and it could have been anybody. It could have been, the Africans. It could have been the South Americans. It could have been the Alaskans. It could have been anybody. But it was the Greeks that changed that stole that idea, that destroyed that idea by changing the word to pneuma, as in pneumonia, breath. And it became, when that change took place, and that's who did it. That's just the fact of it. Not blame game. It's just, that's the fact of it. It was changed to pneuma. And then the Latins came along, and I'm documenting this whole thing in my new book on It's All Greek to Me. The Latins came along and they didn't use pneuma. They changed it to spiritus. And now the breath is gone. The healing force is no longer accessible. Now we've got a ghost that we're going to call holy. And we're going to put it in the hands of some priest somewhere who, or some nun, or some, religious person who's going to tell you when you're approved of and when you get to get your own personal ghost. And, there's no other way to tell that story than that's what happened. That's the regression of it and the loss of it. And we've done the video series, the audio of it on the show, Aramaicisms. Virtually every key word. Love has been turned to sexual athletics. Breath has been turned to some kind of disembodied spirit being. Forgiveness has been turned to letting somebody else off the hook. And I could go through a dozen other words. Law has become the rule of a superior instead of the way things work. They were all thefts. And we can't reclaim what they mean if we can't look at the fact of what happened. And the fact is, the Latins turned it into this ghost. And there's no ghost involved. There's still a lot of people running around talking about it, and they'd be very offended, I'm sure. A lot of offense would come up with them because I'm stealing what they think is the answer from them. The truth is, by understanding what happened, you get the real answer back again. It's kind of like when you play country music backward, you get your dog back, you get your car back, you get your truck back, you get your girl back. It's the reclamation of it, but you can only reclaim it if you can understand what happened.
Yeah, well, it's just a huge challenge to
Yes,
put it in a way that won't get hackles up and make people want to go to war with you. That's all. I don't want that for
I'm
you.
working on. I'm working
Yeah,
on it.
that is so
It's
hard.
coming together pretty well.
Good.
It's coming together. I've got a chapter almost ready, another chapter almost ready to share with you.
Wow. Okay.
Cool. Well, anybody else? We're 5 minutes after. Anybody else have a thought to share? Speak now or forever keep your microphone on mute. All right. Well, appreciate you all. Thanks for joining us. Have a blessed one. Take care. Bye-bye.